I'm just tripping out over this dude right here. And he's showing him how stupid he is. He came up to me.
You're like not good looking or famous enough to walk into people, okay?
And he started all this bullshit. Show him stuff. It's stupid. I don't even kill nobody. And you run into passive mode. That don't make no sense. Why you going passive mode if you gonna kill people? Still didn't watch some of this stuff. It's live anyway. I want to hear what other lies is going on right now that we don't know nothing about. That's all they got is just lies, 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 and more lies.
Federal agency has unleashed its power to apply undue, improper, and politically motivated scrutiny against innocent Americans. And it's appalling. There should be no citizen in this country who fears an agency of the government, specifically something with the power of the IRS, which can destroy lives, as just for people exercising their God-given and constitutionally protected rights of a certain political viewpoint. And yet that's exactly what's happened here. And, obviously people are fearful of the IRS. In fact, I think recent polls have showed that fewer than a third of Americans trust the IRS. And that ultimately all comes down to leadership. John Koskinen was supposed to be the man appointed by the president to clean up this agency and to institute reform and transparency. And starting right here with this committee, he certainly has not done so. And I stand against this amendment as it's written, as things are written. It needs to stay that way. And I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentlewoman from the Virgin Islands, Ms. Plaskett.
Like I said, if y'all don't want to play peaceful, just tell me. And I can get on my computer. And I'll show you why I'm in here by myself. Why I'm always in here by myself.
I heard about that hombre. You know what they say? They say he's got like 4 balls, man. Yeah, he and your bitch are gonna have mutant ball-sack children. Yeah, man. Happy birthday.
Believe to support a theory that we cannot substantiate. The last time I checked, we are supposed to deal with facts. And if it had been the case that Inspector General would have uncovered it during his multi-year investigation, or the committee would have uncovered it during our exhaustive investigation, or the Department of Justice would have uncovered it. But the only reason this resolution includes language is because, for some reason, it's part of the plan to have this massive attack. But it's wrong, and it's inaccurate, and it needs to be corrected. I encourage all of my committee members, Republicans, Democrats, or those who are of other beliefs, to vote in favor of this amendment, because we, as a committee, should never, ever step outside of the fact that we're human and we're dealing with facts that are presented to us. And I yield back my time.
Thank the gentlewoman. Does any other member wish to speak on the amendment? If not, I have an amendment to the amendment. Clerk will designate that amendment.
Second degree amendment offered by Mr. Chapitz of Utah to the amendment offered by Mr. Cummings of Maryland to H.Res. 737.
Thank you. I'd now like to recognize myself for 5 minutes to explain the amendment. As I indicated, July 23rd should be included in there, and as you'll see, the amendment to the amendment includes that same portion. But I have moved to strike the first part of Mr. Cummings' amendment as well as the last part, and let me address each of those. Part of the testimony in the record here from Mr. Koskinen is when he says we, he's the commissioner. I think that we is self-explanatory that we means him as well. That's why we said as early as February 2014 and no later than. There is a range in there. I think we've been as clear as we possibly can. This is Mr. Koskinen's testimony. He says, quote, in February, as I said, they briefed me that with the emails that they had pulled subject to the search terms, they were concerned that there was an issue with the date issues. I was not advised not, and then got interrupted for a moment, that there was a hard drive crash, but he knew that there was an issue, and that's what he testified to. I asked, as relates to the BlackBerry, the last part, I was the one that actually questioned Mr. Koskinen, and I said, did they look at her BlackBerry, her phone? Mr. Camus, who is the Inspector General, says, quote, they did not, end quote. Again, that's why we included this. It is a definitive part of the record. I, again, agree with Mr. Cummings as to the middle part, if you will, the larger part, the middle part of his amendment, but I would disagree with the other two, and that's why I've offered an amendment that strikes those two portions of Mr. Cummings' amendment.
Gentleman yield.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand the argument with regard to the BlackBerry.
Uh-huh.
Had the BlackBerry. They had taken it in June of 2013.
Correct.
And so you, according to this, you are saying that he should have done what? In other words, he doesn't. This is before he even gets sworn in. And the IG has the BlackBerry, but you want him to. What do you want him to do?
Well,
I'm just curious.
reclaiming my time.
Yeah, of course.
What Mr. Koskinen was testifying is it says in our resolution that the Internal Revenue Service, in fairness to Mr. Koskinen, he was not there when the targeting happened. The problem that I have with Mr. Koskinen, the reason that we believe that this censure, and I believe impeachment, is ultimately the right and just thing to do, is the way we have been misled, I believe lied to, because there has been no correction of the record. There has been an arrogance and a defiance
A blunt not giving a
is
fuck
right on
about the
all
law.
points. When the record does not reflect
That's the bottom
that,
line.
rely on the Inspector General, rely on his own testimony. But as it says in our resolution, Commissioner Koskinen testified that the Internal Revenue Service, I don't expect that he personally went and did it, but he is representing what the IRS did. And if he knew otherwise, or came into facts later in his possession, he had a duty and obligation to correct the record and provide those to Congress. He managed to tell the White House, he managed to tell the Treasury Department, but he didn't tell us. And it was deceptive. And the record is clear that in terms of the BlackBerry, it was not checked. And it did go into the possession of TIGTA, but while they had it, remember, this investigation started years ago, and he bragged almost about the fact that he spent $18 to $20 million, 250 employees. They had this huge, massive dragnet out there trying to find that, but 5 of the 6 sources were not checked, and that included the BlackBerry. Sure.
So you're saying that he should have, although he was sworn in after TIGTA took possession of the BlackBerry, he should have gone to TIGTA and said, give me the BlackBerry? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. He was representing what the IRS did and did not do. And we find that to be inconsistent, untruthful, void of fact. That's why it's included. Yield back my... Oh, go ahead. I'll yield one more time.
No.
Okay, I yield back my time. Does any other member wish to speak on my amendment to the amendment?
Chairman,
Recognize the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Cummings.
Chairman, I just want to, I want to enter into the record the report of the IG, and it's, and on the 3rd page, just want to highlight this quote. However, the investigation did not uncover any evidence that the IRS and its employees purposely erased the tapes in order to conceal responsive emails from the Congress, the DOJ, or TIGTA. But going back to, and just going back, Mr. Chairman, we are placing Mr. Carson in a situation where he wanted censored, he wanted insisted the same time, you're holding him responsible. And I know people make mistakes, staff make mistakes, whatever. But again, I think that this is going a bit far with regard to this gentleman.
What you want?
Well, without objection,
I'll send you
I'll enter
something.
that report into the record. Without objection, so that will be entered into the record. If the gentleman will yield, the concern is that he came to our committee and testified that they had gone to such great lengths. Is the word he kept. Gone to great lengths was the quote that he kept saying. And then went back and testified that he had confirmed that in fact these things said, and that's where again we get into this pattern of deception that I think as the leader of that organization is intolerable. We disagree, and no doubt we disagree about this. Yes,
of course not. Again, as I said in my opening statement, I think it's one thing to say somebody lies, just another thing making a statement accurate based upon the knowledge that he had at that time. I think this is a bit much. Take a man's pension, ruin his reputation. As I said, put a black mark on his life that will follow him straight on to his grave.
Oh, bitch, shit, that happens to black people all the time.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member wish to speak on the amendment to the amendment? If not, the question is now on the second degree amendment offered by myself to the Cummings amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The second degree amendment is agreed to. Are there further amendments to the amendment? If none, the question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Cummings, as amended. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion, Chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to as amended. Are there further amendments to the bill?
Don't smoke a lot, talk a lot.
Mr.
Carl,
Cartwright
you smoke a lot.
Smoking like you fucked up, really.
Amendment to H.R. 737 offered by Mr. Cartwright of
Unreal, Dave. Unreal, bro.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania,
Smoke a
Mr.
lot,
Cartwright,
damn,
is
put
recognized
regular
for 5
fucking
minutes to
weed
explain the amendment,
and mix it in
without
there with
objection, the amendment
Reggie.
is considered
And if I
as
wouldn't have
read.
lived there and went in the bag, I wouldn't have saw this bullshit weed
resolution and replaces it with
supposed to been with
verbatim
that
findings
nigga there,
of
bro.
the Republican
And then
Inspector General of the IRS.
I had to make the nigga give me
George,
50 of the pills
after
back.
his multi-year
He didn't want to do that, Jeff. I said, I ain't gonna get loud in here because I didn't want you to come up in here because I want to deal with that nigga myself. I said, smoke a lot.
Tens of thousands of
If I
documents
raise
and
up out this big and grab a hold of you, let me tell you about my
backup tapes.
upper body
Chairman,
strength.
resolution
A drug addict don't have
contradicts
nothing
the
for me
findings
having
made by
everything that's in me right now that I've been doing so well with, and here you come with some bullshit, bro. You see I got tears in my eyes, bro, because right now I want to choke you, bro. Give me them 50 fucking pills, bro, before I fuck you up in here.
And we all heard that testimony in this room.
Come on, John, bro.
Inspector General
Bro,
found
look
no
at
evidence.
it.
Commissioner
Bro,
intentionally
hey, bro, I'm like, that nigga ain't,
heard that testimony in
he,
this room.
the drug,
Inspector General found
he,
no evidence that the
I don't know if these niggas sprayed the motherfucking drug with something to make it seem like you say champagne flavored weed, cause it basically smell like perfume. And I'm saying, she gave me a headache. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, fuck smoking like trying to do here. I said, well, I'm gonna let Dave taste some of this shit and see what he said. I would fuck smoke a lot up if smoke a lot playing crackhead games with me, man.
The bottom line,
but that's crackhead games that this nigga doing.
What I'm saying, champagne, something
believe
saying.
that Inspector General George is lying. So the censure resolution hinges on the theory that the commissioner obstructed justice and concealed information, but the Inspector General found no evidence to support these claims. As has been mentioned, Senator Orrin Hatch, the Republican chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, agreed with Republican Inspector General George. Senator Hatch stated that, quote,
Unreal, smoke, I smoke too much.
he's been very cooperative with us, referring to Mr. Koskinen.
You need to get his life right.
My amendment strikes the unsubstantiated accusations in this censure resolution and replaces them with the Republican Inspector General's own conclusions, word for word. I urge committee members to adopt this amendment because it is based, in fact, and entirely on conclusions from the Republican Inspector General, Russell George. He interviewed more individuals than we did. He conducted an extremely thorough investigation, and if we mean our proceedings here in the Government and Oversight Reform, the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, if we mean our proceedings here to be fact-based,
I'm like, shit, fuck
and
these doctors and
honoring
their
truth,
medication.
we should use Mr. George's conclusions instead of the ones that we cook up here in the committee. And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes. I'm in opposition to this amendment. I understand the points the gentleman tries to make about disparaging the character of the Inspector General. The fundamental flaw, though, I believe, in the argument in favor of this amendment is that the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Inspector General, none of them were looking at Mr. Koskinen's comments since the Tigger report came out.
Any of y'all that's on pharmaceutical drugs,
they didn't do any investigation.
do your show.
So far, don't look like nothing but Trump putting nothing but white folk around him.
Like I just said, that boy got something up his sleeve. But like I was saying to y'all people, leave that pharmaceutical drugs alone. Get y'all some marijuana.
The rest of
hey, look, here you go.
I seen the white boy picked for Secretary of Defense.
That's all it was. Make get off of line.
What he put on? What he